Hey folks, it's Chris, and today I'm going to talk to you a bit about Blood Bowl 2. For those of you who don't know, Blood Bowl and Blood Bowl 2, computer games by Cyanide Studios, are fairly faithful recreations of the much loved Blood Bowl board game, a game set in Games Workshop's Warhammer world, a version thereof, wherein Blood Bowl, a sport that can be best described as a ludicrously violent fantasy version of American football, is used as the main means of dealing with disputes between nations, in place of wars and the like, and just because everyone loves sport. I played quite a lot of Blood Bowl 1 online with the UK Blood Bowl League back in the day. I eventually quit because life was quite stressful at the time, and Blood Bowl is a game that can really raise your blood pressure. As I said, a faithful conversion of the board game, it's based around dice rolls. Basically, everything you do it has literal dice rolls behind the game, and the game is notorious for its brutal, cruel punishment of players that need to make 2+ rolls on a 6-sided dice. For example, it will always come up with 1, and the game is about risk management and risk control, but no matter how much you manage your risk, sometimes the dice will just scream. That's part of what the game makes the game memorable, but it can be quite frustrating as well. So I quit Blood Bowl a while back, but just recently I've been getting back into the tabletop version again, as Games Workshop released a new edition in the past year, and I've signed back up for the UK Blood Bowl League, which I'm probably going to go in for with a Bretonian team, as and when the next season of that happens, or when they open up to new conference leagues. In the meantime, I've also signed up to the Twitch Blood Bowl League, which I'll talk about a bit more today. For this league, I am going to be using a Necromantic team, Field of Dogs. So, let's talk about Necromantic team a bit. They're a bit of an odd duck. They're a mix of quite slow characters with relatively blinding speed from the werewolves. They're similar to the regular undead team, but less punchy in strength and a bit speedier. The team's quite resilient. Most of the people on your team can regenerate potentially. Really are the werewolves. So I've put together a new starting team for the Twitch Blood Bowl League, and I'm just going to go through it a bit and discuss why I've picked what I've picked. Necromantic teams are a bit of an odd duck. They have several very expensive players, specifically werewolves and the flesh golems. And what this means is that, unlike a lot of teams where you likely buy most of the positionals starting roster, it might cost you, but you probably get the team mostly like you want day one. That's not really possible with Necromantic. You can't get all the positionals in the team, but tanking your ability to have rerolls vital so badly that you cripple yourselves. I have chosen to drop the ghouls in this build. Ghouls are quite key to the team. They're fast, nimble, and they're often good ball carriers, but I've chosen not to go with them because I want werewolves. So the werewolves are really star players. Vicious, nasty claws are getting through heavy armour, very fast. So I've got 2 werewolves, and I've picked 2 flesh golems. Some people drop the flesh golems, thinking they're a bit like they're slightly stronger zombies, really, but I do think they're important, especially given the division I'm in, which I'll get to later. So 2 werewolves, 2 flesh golems, 2 whites, which is one of the more obligatory bits. So the whites are real workhorses for the team. They are reliable, reasonable stat lines, and regenerate means that they're likely to gather quite a few star player points and basically get a lot of experience over time, so you can rely on them to skill up fairly effectively. And then filled up the roster with a number of zombies. Zombies are kind of rubbish stat line wise, but that's fine. They're there to get in the way and get punched and to foul the hell out of your opponents. I plan to do a lot more fouling with this team than I usually do. My tabletop team at the moment is High Elves. High Elves are so expensive per player that you really struggle to justify guys sent off, let alone wanting to get enough of your team stuck in around a fallen opponent in the first place. You know, elves play with a very non-max style. So I'm looking forward to being able to kick the crap out of people on the ground with some zombies. Now, I've got 2 rerolls on the team. There are plenty of builds that go for a 3 reroll start and have 1 werewolf, but I really wanted the 2 werewolves, and so I've gone for 2 team rerolls. I hope that'll work out for me. Now, the team name you may have noticed is Field of Dogs. Some of you will know that I am a freelance RPG writer, and I wrote a Forsaken 2nd edition for Onyx Path as part of the Chronicles of Darkness, formerly World of Darkness. And one of the settings I wrote for that is the Field of Dogs setting. Here's a little history lesson for the day for you. So, in the medieval period, there was a battle between Boleslav of Poland and Henry of the Empire at a place in what is now Wrocław. Story goes that the slaughter which the Polish won the battle, but the slaughter was so great that the mounds of bodies were so large that they basically couldn't get buried. So wild dogs would come and eat the dead. And that's a location called Psie Pole, even now, Field of Dogs. And in the well-forsaken setting, basically that's quite significant. Werewolves as well. So I decided to name the team after that. Unfortunately, I can only get 2 werewolves in the team. You can't have more. But there you go. So it's showing off my nerd cred there, really. So this is the team I'm taking into the Twitch Blood Bowl League. I'm hoping that the combination of resilience from Regenerate compared with the blinding speed of the werewolves and relative punchiness will carry me off okay. But what's interesting is you look at the other teams in my division for this. So, and it's incredibly crunchy, if you like, incredibly bashy. There are, I believe there's going to be 3 Nurgle teams in total. I could be wrong. I've got a Lizardman team, Dwarf team, a Skaven team, and a team as well. So that is, Nurgle teams are slow, crunchy, heavily armoured, bashy. Dwarves are the same. Orcs are much the same. Lizardmen are a very high strength team, faster than the others, but again, very punchy. Skaven is really the only team in this division that I think is a scoring team, a team that focuses on punching the crap out of the other one. Which means that this is going to be a tough division. It's going to be pretty grueling and brutal. My hope is that Nurgle teams in particular, when they start off, have a lot of problems. They're tough and they're troublesome for opponents to take down, but they lack key skills. So it's just scoring could be quite a struggle for them. Very slow, very tough, but not amazingly agile and not very skillful. My hope is that at least against the starting Nurgle teams, I'll be able to get a good number of touchdowns in with the werewolves to skill them up. Also, several of these teams, Lizardmen, Nurgle, Dwarf, and Orc, all have very high armour values, and that's something where I'm hoping that the Claw on my werewolves is going to come into play. Claw is absolutely brutal, cuts through heavy armour like butter. It's going to be tricky because they've got lots of high strength guys, so I'm going to have to be careful with my setups. Werewolves have Frenzy, which is great, but can lead you into unfavourable attack situations as your guy crazily piles in strike after strike. And against high strength opponents, that can lead you into situations where you end up out of your depth. But I'm thinking the werewolves are going to be pretty crucial dealing with all that high armour. So that's where I'm going with Field of Dogs this season. I'm going to be recording games, and hopefully, and I'll upload those as and when they happen. I don't know when the first games are going to happen. Hopefully within the next week or 2, the season will kick off. I'm not completely sure, and I look forward to seeing you all there.